Okay, so let's go over the 1.5 practice. As I was just telling first hour that I gave you credit for trying the work. This was done yesterday in class with Miss Seagram here, 10-3. I gave you credit for trying the work. You got to see if you did it right or wrong. The one thing that I know I didn't mention in first hour is a name that you could use for this angle would just be straight up angle Y. You can name an angle by its vertex if there's no other angles at that vertex. So simply, this could just be angle Y, and then the other two ways you could write it is by using all three letters with the vertex in the middle. X, Y, Z, angle mark, make sure it's there, X, Y, Z, and then I could go and call it angle Z, Y, X as well. So those are the three different names that you should have for that. Again, if there's only one angle going on at a vertex, you can use the vertex letter.
You don't matter where you put them?
No. Name three different angles in number 2. So this one is naming 3 names for the single angle. In number 2, you want to go, let me name the biggest one, PQS, angle PQS. Does it matter if your angle notation is there? Of course. This angle here on the left, PQR, angle PQR. And then the other smaller angle, RQS, angle RQS. In number 3, they wanted us to find the measure of COA. It was this angle here. You actually wound up having to do some subtraction to get that. COA, well, regardless of how you looked at it, if I look at the top number, COA goes from 20 all the way over to 130. So if I look at it that way, that's 110 degrees. Now if I looked at the bottom numbers, it's going from 160 over to 50. 160 minus 50 still gives us 110 degrees. Either way you looked at it, you would have got 110. And then to classify it, make sure you did that part. You want to make sure that you said that it's obtuse. I hate when I know that you just missed reading directions, you know, and I have to take points off. So make sure that you got the angle measure and that it's obtuse. Now we had looked at congruent markings for angles. The single marks on this figure mean that all these angles are congruent to each other. The double marks mean that these 3 angles are congruent to each other. 160 minus 50. There you go. Nice. I appreciate that. Number 4, angles congruent to ADG. So I'm looking for what angles have ADG has got this double mark. So I'm going to go and drop these other 2 angles here. It's going to be, and make sure you have them both, BEH or HEB, angle BEH or HEB, and angle CFI or IFC. But those are the 2 that you should have there. The only difference is you could just reverse the order, make sure the vertex is in the right spot. It said identify the angles congruent, so I'd be looking for all of them. Identify the angles congruent to DAG. Now when I go and look at DAG, I see a lot actually. From D to A to G has got this single mark. I gotta go grab all the rest. There's 5. Now the way they started naming this, I'm gonna just sort of follow that they went DA and then all the way down to G. I'm just gonna follow that, and I'm gonna name the one to the right of it angle EB all the way down to H. You could say EBF. EBF and EBH are the same angle. EBH. I'm just going to go all the way down. Now I've got to go over, I'm just going to go around the figure. FCI, angle FCI. Now I'm going to go down to the bottom right corner. This is angle CIF. You needed all 5 of them. I still got 2 more. Angle BHE. And then last but not least, AGD, angle AGD. But again, you might have shortened up the name. Like for AGD, you could have wrote EGD. Just make sure you've named these other 5 with the single marks. Now, in numbers 6 and 7, I realized when I was just kind of glancing through papers today that some people on 6 and 7 just kind of made a stab at it without going back and reading that they gave us 2 angle measures to begin with. Up here, it tells me that ADG is 92 degrees. Well, then that means that everything I put in number 4 has a measure of 92 degrees. So if ADG is 92, everything that I just wrote in number 4 would have a measure of 92. DAG is 44. Well, number 5 was angles congruent to DAG. So that means all of those are 44. And then when I go and look and say, what's the measure of CFI? CFI was in number 4. That one's 92 degrees. And EHB, look over here even, EHB, that's one that's congruent to the 44 degree angle. So 92 degrees and 44. The measures were given here. You should have yours from yesterday, Jamar. Number 8, they want us to find the measure of angle BAD. BAD is the entire angle, so the angle addition postulate just has us putting these together. What's 31 and 24? BAG is going to be 55 degrees. Number 9 took a little bit more work. I saw it more than anything, people just not doing 9, like just kind of ignoring it. The one thing that I noticed on some people that didn't do 9 is that they had written something about 180 degrees because this is a straight angle, and that means that the angle itself is going to add to 180. So if that's the case, this is like the problem that we did in our notes packet. I'm going to put together the 2x minus 18. That's this left side angle and the 4x on the right. And when I put both of those together, that's what's equal to the total of 180 degrees. We were just practicing our equation solving. I need to put together like terms on the right. The 2x and the 4x is going to become 6x. When I subtract 18 from it, then I subtract 18. To solve this, I'm going to add 18 next. Going across the equal sign, 198 equals 6 x's. And when I take 198 divided by 6, I get that x is 33. Now, one thing about this problem that is not typical is that it said simply find x. Look for something that's going to tell you to go back and use x, like find what these angle measures are. You know, going back and saying what is 4 times 33? And that angle would be 132. What is 2 times 33 minus 18? Add this to your paper because it's so typical that you'd be doing this in addition that I hate to not mention it. The fact that that stopped by saying find x is odd. Typically you'll have to use it, and we've seen that before. Now I've got some information in 10 in the Ferris wheel. The measure of angle EFG is 11¼ That's pretty small right there. Makes sense though, because I can see that going all the way around the circle is going to be 360 degrees. So 11¼ times the space between all these Ferris wheel seats makes sense, I think. And then they say that BAF, this angle down here, is 70 degrees. So if I just label in the 2 things that I read, I can get started on the problem and see if that helps me down the road. Now, name an example of each of the 4 types of angles according to their measures in the diagram. Well, first of all, I know that an acute angle is less than 90. I'm going to go back and name acute as angle EFG, the one that we just looked at as 11½ or 11¼ Acute example would be EFG. So this is type and an example for each. Now, I also could use the 70-degree angle as an acute. That could be in there. BAF could be there. That would be a possibility. I have an acute angle. Then I could look for a right angle. I see a right angle going on. Right angle marking looks to me like it's angle DFE has got the right angle marking. Angle DFE has got the little box there that means right angle. Obtuse angle. Let's see, obtuse. How about this one out here? I could probably find another, but what about FBC? I just highlighted it over here. I don't know what its measure is, but I know it's bigger than 90 and less than 180. I'm going to use angle FBC on that one. You may have others. We can talk about it in a second here. And then last but not least, a straight angle. I don't think we've talked about naming a straight angle. To name a 180-degree angle, which would be like this line down here, this would be the only one I see. And you'd have to name it angle ABC. There you go. a straight angle. You still got to give it like it's a vertex, like it would fold. Angle ABC.